There's a family in almost every neighborhood that looks like they made it. Nice house, reliable car, stable job, annual vacation photos. From the outside, it looks secure, but inside that house, there's pressure. There's calculation before every major purchase. There's quiet anxiety about layoffs. There's retirement uncertainty no one talks about. They did everything right. So why does it still feel fragile? That's the middle class trap, and it's more dangerous than being broke. Let me tell you about someone I know. Corporate job, good salary, disciplined saver. For 18 years, he followed the textbook formula. Work hard, save 15%, avoid risk, wait for retirement. He felt responsible, strategic, safe. Then inflation rose, healthcare costs climbed, taxes increased, his savings grew, but purchasing power shrank. He wasn't losing money. He was losing momentum. That's the part nobody explains. Saving money protects. It rarely multiplies, and protection without multiplication slowly falls behind. The middle class was taught this belief. If you earn responsibly and store carefully, you'll eventually feel free. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Time is working against pure savers. Inflation erodes. Opportunity compounds elsewhere. Assets appreciate. Wages stagnate. So while you're building security, the system is building leverage for someone else. This isn't conspiracy, it's structure. And if you don't understand structure, you become dependent on it. Let's zoom out. In the 1970s, one income could support a household comfortably. Today, dual incomes struggle in major cities. Housing prices outpaced salaries, asset owners accelerated, earners plateaued. The middle class didn't collapse, it compressed, and the strategy that once worked no longer scales. The rules changed quietly. Most people didn't. Now I want you to think personally. If your job paused for 6 months, how long would your savings sustain your lifestyle? And after that, would your investments produce income or just sit there? That question reveals everything. Saving creates delay. Ownership creates expansion. The middle class trap is living in delay mode, waiting for a future that gets more expensive. And here's the emotional part. Nobody says out loud, you can follow every rule and still feel stuck. That frustration isn't failure, it's misalignment. Because wealth isn't built by storing currency, it's built by controlling assets. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to show you why saving alone keeps people financially average, the psychological comfort trap, how inflation quietly punishes caution, the difference between accumulation and expansion, and how to escape without reckless risk. Stay with me, because once you see this clearly, you won't view money the same way again. Let's talk about something most people never question: comfort. The middle class doesn't fail because of laziness. It stalls because of comfort psychology. Predictability feels responsible. A steady paycheck feels mature. A growing savings account feels disciplined. And discipline feels like progress. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Progress and protection are not the same thing. Saving money protects you from emergencies. It rarely creates expansion. And when protection becomes the main strategy, the growth slows quietly. Let me show you something real. Two co-workers start the same year, same salary, same department, same opportunities. Person A saves aggressively, maxes retirement, avoids risk, keeps everything stable. Person B also saves responsibly, but invests in skill development, starts a small online service, reinvests profits, learns about equity. 10 years later, person A has security, person B has options. Security is defensive, options are powerful. One preserved income, the other multiplied it. The trap isn't saving, the trap is stopping there. Comfort convinces you that consistency equals advancement. But if inflation is rising faster than your growth rate, you're running uphill. And most people never calculate that. Inflation doesn't knock on your door, it adjusts quietly. Groceries cost slightly more. Insurance increases gradually. Housing edges upward. You adapt slowly. But here's the math nobody feels emotionally. If inflation averages 4% annually and your savings yield 1%, you are losing 3% of purchasing power every year. Not visibly, but structurally. Over 15 years, that gap compounds. Let's use a simple example. $100,000 sitting in low-yield savings for 15 years versus $100,000 placed into productive assets averaging 8 to 10%. The difference isn't small, it's life-changing. One grows cautiously, the other accelerates. Now imagine 20 years. The gap becomes massive. This isn't gambling, this is allocation. The middle-class strategy was built in a time when savings rates and asset growth were closer. That environment no longer exists. The rules shifted, but the advice didn't, and that gap is costing people decades. Let's go deeper. Even high earners fall into this trap. A software engineer making 6 figures can still feel stuck. Why? Because income alone has a ceiling. Raises are incremental. Promotions are limited. Bonuses fluctuate. Effort does not scale infinitely. Ownership does. Think about early startup employees who received equity, same hours, same effort, different structure. When the company grew, ownership multiplied, time stayed constant. Return expanded. The middle class model focuses on earn more, save more, wait longer. The wealth model focuses on acquire assets, increase leverage, reinvest intelligently. It's a structural difference, not a moral one. Hard work is admirable, but hard work without ownership caps upside, and capped upside feels like stagnation over time. Now let's get tactical. This is where most videos get vague. We won't. Escaping the middle-class trap requires 5 moves, not reckless moves, calculated ones. You cannot invest if you have 0 margin. Develop a scalable skill. Examples: digital marketing, copywriting, AI workflow integration, high-ticket sales, consulting. Use evenings strategically. 5 focused hours per week, compounds over months. This builds additional cash flow. Surplus creates options. Do not inflate lifestyle immediately. Direct extra income toward index funds, dividend-paying assets, equity in growing businesses, digital properties. Assets must produce or appreciate. Idle savings lose power. Recurring revenue stabilizes expansion. Subscription models, digital courses, affiliate structures, rental cash flow, income that arrives without clocking in changes psychology. It shifts your identity from worker to builder. 4. Never rely on a single stream again. At least 3 income categories: active, semi-passive, investment-based. Fragility decreases, resilience increases, liquidity buffer, low debt, risk management. This is not about recklessness, it's about controlled growth. Escaping the trap is not mathematical alone, it's psychological. You must shift from "I need security" to "I build strength." Security depends on external stability. Strength adapts when conditions change. Middle-class thinking values predictability. Wealth thinking values adaptability. That difference determines long-term trajectory. The goal isn't luxury, it's leverage. Leverage buys time, time buys freedom. Freedom creates peace. Saving money is honorable, but saving alone is incomplete. Let me ask you directly. 20 years from now, do you want to look back and say, "I played it safe," or "I built intelligently"? The middle-class trap isn't about income level, it's about strategy alignment. Protection without multiplication leads to stagnation. Discipline combined with ownership leads to expansion. This is not about abandoning savings, it's about evolving beyond them. Build assets, create leverage, reinvest wisely, and never depend on a single structure again. If this changed your perspective, subscribe. Because in the next video, we break down how to build your first income-producing asset step by step. And once you understand that, you stop surviving financially, you start positioning.